Number 7.
Number 7 is a guy that I've just been high on since the moment he was drafted, and maybe I am too high on him. Maybe I have him a little bit higher in my most intriguing ranking than I should have. Certainly when asked who the most intriguing of the young pass rushers was, who did KJ Wright say? Darrell Taylor, and I've got Boye Mafe ahead of him. I got Boye Mafe at number 7 on my most intriguing list. Now, let's also bear in mind that right now in the depth chart, Boye Mafe is ahead of him. He is starting every single practice that I've seen opposite Chenanosu on the other side as one of the starting outside linebackers. And why? Well, because he's come back in year 2 ready to go.
Mafe probably appears to be like the most improved guy from last year. He at this time, it's really early, but he's shown so many bright moments out here, run and pass. And if you talk to Boye, which you may after this, he'll tell you the difference between where his mind is right now compared to last year. He can't even imagine how he played last year. He felt like he knew so little compared to what he's aware of now. So that's the sophomore jump you're talking about. He's really made it, and so I'm hoping that it'll continue. And right now he's battling to be one of the featured rushers as well as be a featured guy in early downs too. So he's doing great.
I think that's a really huge praise. And I just keep going back to the scouting report, Brock, things you told me, other people said when they drafted him, which was unbelievably talented, high end in terms of athleticism, size, strength, speed, etc., but hasn't played a lot of high-level football and just needs to learn the game and doesn't necessarily have the best instincts for the game. Mm-hmm. Well, if he's figuring out some of how to play the game and it's improving his instincts along the way, you're talking about a guy who could have a huge, huge impact on what this defense looks like. Pete's not the only one excited. His defensive coordinator, Clint Hurt, pretty excited about the same jump.
I always want to see the big jumpers from year 1 to year 2 with guys with understanding. It's this kind of stuff I was talking about with run defense, and Mafe has started to show that with coming along with that and starting to see things and taking the shots and whatnot. So that part has been really good to see. It's been encouraging. Just want to see him keep growing. I expect big things out of him.
Yeah, he's looked amazing in practice, Brock. He's been a standout every time I've been over there. Combine that with how he looked in the preseason game where I thought he was the best player on the field for a while. Combine that with his scouting report and where he's at right now.
Yeah.
I am probably overly excited for this year for Boye Mafe.
6'4", 261. Remember, he ran 4.53 and jumped 38.
So how does that compare to Darrell Taylor?
Darrell didn't do any of that running and jumping at the combine.
Because he was hurt.
Because he was hurt. So Darrell, as I said to you earlier, is 6'4", 267 with a little longer arms than Boye. I don't know if he was a 4.5, 338. Probably. I mean, he's close. They're off the bus dudes, man.
Yeah.
There's just in the supply chain as you look at high school kids and then on to college kids and then, you get that little filter, right? You look at the odds of, hey, man, what's the percentage of kids that are playing high school football right now? They're in training camps all over the country. And then you filter down, okay, now what are the college kids? 132 of those, plus all the D1 AA and D2, D3 NAI programs, and you filter it down. There's just not many that have that kind of, as I like to say, clay to mold. Let me throw this back at you. Kind of outside the box question. You can keep that music rolling too. Do you have a couple people that you have met in your life where you would say, man, their brain processes things at levels others can't?
Yes.
We don't talk about that enough in this game of football. We do with quarterbacks. Talk about it all the time. Oh, this guy processed and seeing the game. He's got it. He doesn't have it. We don't realize how many other positions. Yeah. And
Richard Sherman, we've talked about it. We talked about it at times with Mike B. We talked about it with Brandon Mebane. Certainly we heard that from KJ Wright, how quickly Mebane would process things and call it out for the rest of the guys. I think we talked about it with Cam and a few others as well.
I was just saying to Molly at dinner last night after football practice, it's amazing. You could see it with 13-year-old kids. There's a few of them that right now, they've all gotten the same plays. They've all been handed the formations, but you just see some of them, they get in the huddle, call the play, and they're like, what do I do? Come on, bro. We've done this now 10 times, right? But that brain process, and that is where, when I listen to Pete, I listen, and heck, to Boye himself talk about, the jump from 1 to 2. Play Boye when he was on with us, talking about the difference between being a freshman and sophomore.
For me, I personally think it's definitely night and day. I definitely notice a big difference, in how I see the game, how things move for me. It's slowing down for me now, and I mean, it's really, you know, over the time, I've just gotten more comfortable being on the field, being in the, you know, in that situation. So I've definitely noticed a big difference, a big jump.
I was trying to figure out when Pete started down the road of, I was listening to somebody talk about sophomore slump. Was that? I was like, oh gosh.
You said it the other day.
Was that us? But
then it wasn't me.
No, but then
I think it was you.
Well, but I don't think it was. I think he was reading it elsewhere. I don't know. He at least softened it as after he said it to go. I don't believe in a sophomore slump.
I think it was you.
To me, it's a soft jump, a sophomore bump. What are we talking about here?
You said about somebody, as long as he doesn't have a sophomore slump, he should be fine. I don't know if that's what Pete was referring to, but I think that's what you said the other day.
Oh, I think so too. Maybe it was.
But that's not an insult. I mean, you weren't. I think it was about Tariq Woolen, but it could have been somebody else. You're like, hey, as long as they don't have a sophomore slump, this guy's going to be unbelievable. You weren't suggesting he was going to have that.
But I'm
safe.
suggesting there's a reason there's a term for it. A sophomore slump, because history tells you that once expectations are set and they're set high and you think you can rest off your laurels and live in that place, that, there's been plenty of story written across all sports at a lot of different ages, collegiately and professionally, that second year there's a bit of a wake-up call. I mean, let's remember Rocky. Rocky was on top of the world.
It's true.
And Clubber Lang said, oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't
really,
a sophomore slump. It was really a third your junior.
That was Rocky.
slump.
Well,
Maybe
really,
you're going to go to like Julio start to this year or
but
something.
1 and
but
2,
no Rocky.
remember.
No, let's go to Rocky 3. That's
remember
usually
Rocky-
the best way is in Rocky 3.
Rocky 1 and 2 were largely all Apollo Creed, so I'm lumping those two together.
Okay. Well, it still seems like Rocky 3 would be an odd way to discuss a sophomore slump. Yeah, maybe Julio would be a better way to.
That's exactly.
I mean, just one
actually-
idea.
Well, that's actually who I said.
I mean, just one idea.
When I compared a sophomore slump,
It's just one thought. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can go with this.
But man, Julio's in a
Rocky 3 is the
sophomore
right
bump
one.
right now, baby. He's
Is that
jumping
where your
right
Hulk
now.
Hogan impression came from that I heard you did when you were in the high school locker room?
Yeah, that's a pretty good impression.
Was it from Rocky 3?
No, that was more of my WWF days back in the day.
Just checking.
So.
All right, there you go. That is our number 7 most intriguing Seahawk. It is Boye Mafe. I am pumped about him. I mean, I really am excited about what the edge of this defense looks like, and specifically him and Hall and obviously Nwosu. I don't know whether Nwosu's even on our most intriguing list because I don't think he's that intriguing. I think he's a solid, fantastic, awesome player, and it's not an insult to me that he's not on here. I feel like I have a pretty good sense now of who he is after watching him play last year. But I feel like Boye and Hall, the sky's the limit for those two guys.
Yep, pretty freaky athletically, man. Now put it together and process that game. Slow it down so I can see formations. I can look at the tackle. I can look at their stances. A year ago, Boye is just trying to figure out where to line up. And now he's starting to figure this game out and use those tools, man, to be a difference maker.